All right, we're live. Oh, let me invite Order 66 again. Real quick, some modding stuff.
Yeah.
You guys, if you do not add a mod or report a post, we actually don't see it. Like the mods aren't just everywhere at all times. Like it's very important that we report it, and we can't actually just outright ban anyone. I have to learn. There's like a point system. They have to have so much shit placed in before they can be banned or restricted.
Gotcha.
I mean, but if they're consistent with it, I mean, it shouldn't be
Yeah,
like...
yeah. There has to be a track. We can't just outright ban someone as soon as we spot an agent. Like in that Chicago thread, there was 4 of them.
Oh wow.
But there's like you have to have so many shit posts before action can be taken. We just have to keep giving warnings, which is kind of shitty. But you have to report the post. Don't be one of those I don't want to report a post guys.
Fuck that. I'll be honest. I report a shitload of posts.
You do. You do.
I got zero tolerance for bullshit because they be ruining shit I'm trying to build on.
But like ARP, Seeding, KMTG, Dirty 305, all these guys that joined last November.
Yeah.
Obvious trolls. They're obvious agents, plants. You have to just keep reporting their posts so they can be banned.
Okay. Well, good to know. I mean, I get it. I get it. It's just so fucking blatant. Some of it. It's like Jesus fucking Christ.
It is that Chicago thread got real ugly.
Yeah, I don't
real stupid.
Yeah, it got to the point. I couldn't even fucking read the thing. I was just like, it's not worth
He's
it.
like, are we in the locker room or what, man?
Yeah.
Well, it's like at first it's like okay, they're coming at it from a different perspective, but then when their arguments are torn apart, they still stick with it. Like they just ignore evidence or facts. They just completely. That's when it's just like, oh wow, okay.
I saw where it was going, and I was like, you know, I there were a couple times I was like, okay, I'll break this down, not necessarily for them, but just for like people who don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm actually fairly educated on the topic, so for people who don't know, that's why I broke down a couple of things. But when I saw that they ignored it, I was like, of course. And I just started warning people, look, don't be replying to them because they're not in it for trying to solutions and shit, man. They're just trying to bait you for bullshit.
Where to start? The Chicago thing. Is everyone pretty much terrified of martial law? Is that what's going on?
I mean, you know, it's not like these. One thing that jumped out at me, it's like, it's not like there's not a federal presence already in these states. I mean, these states, they've had them since these agencies were created. You know, the DEA, the FBI, ETF. I mean, they're already there. I mean, unless you're going to change the economic situation of these people or the laws, calling the feds in isn't going to do shit, and it's definitely not the answer.
Do you think some of the agent talking points do hold water? Like this is Barack Obama and Michelle Obama's hometown, and they did nothing about it for 8 years. Nothing meaningful, at least.
It's not their responsibility to do that.
Really?
Then whose is it?
Yeah, whose is it?
I think it's the cities and the states.
I mean, it's not just a town. It was the 2-term president's hometown. This is his home, and his people, to be exact.
I mean,
he oversees the Department of Justice. I mean, they've done at least police reform in other states, and they've had programs.
You know your camera's on, right?
Oh shit! Let me see. Is it?
Yeah.
He has
They did. I mean, they did do those pretty far-reaching, which I've posted about the the DOJ investigations of the Chicago Police Department were fucking insane. And they kind of got glossed over. I mean, you had police fucking torturing people.
Yeah.
You had police executing people. You had police planting guns on people. With all kinds of crazy shit happening. And I mean, to a degree, I understand it doesn't make it any better, but like Chicago's completely fucked up.
Yeah, but that's exactly why the president and the Department of Justice have to step in. He's got to make that call and start those initiatives if he has purview to what's going on. So yeah, that's definitely his responsibility, and he failed. There's no way around it.
I mean, it was the town that he was a community organizer in. I mean, he has to bear some of the blame. He has to.
I just don't see how you're going to blame the president for individual issues inside of states and cities.
I mean, you're saying you can't blame the president, but then you're scared of what Donald Trump's going to do. So clearly, the president does have some kind of control over what can happen. And again, we've seen what the executive branch and the Department of Justice have been able to do in other cities with regards to police reform. So, yeah, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that things could not be made better in Chicago.
But there's active police reform going on though. So I don't know how you're just going to say that nothing happened.
It's not enough compared to what's happened in other towns with formal reforms, and it's not enough. He didn't do enough.
This is after, I mean, multiple years of investigation and trying to force the city and state to do what the federal government wanted to. I mean, it's like, I don't know what side of the political coin you're on, but, you guys want to have states have their own autonomy, and then at the same time you want to have the federal government overstep that and just force them to do whatever you want. I mean,
if states are violating people's rights, the feds have to step in and take over. Yeah, I'm not saying states should have autonomy to where they can, torture and kill and plant drugs on people.
Okay.
That's what anyone said.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you expect federal agencies to fix the day-to-day policing issues of a city?
The same way they did in Ferguson and St. Louis. I mean, it's been done.
But by many reports, nothing has really changed there.
Whatever. You want to deny the power of the presidency when you talk about Obama's failures, but you want to have a panic attack when you talk about what Trump has to do. It's like you're not being objective. It's either one or the other.
No, but there's a difference between justice reform and, by the sounds of it, wanting to have fucking federal agencies dragnet the whole fucking city.
All right, whatever, man.
Okay. But, I think one thing, and, everyone will always say, no, is if Illinois wasn't surrounded by so many, you can go buy a gun everywhere you fucking want, anywhere you want, and just move it across state lines, Chicago wouldn't have some of the issues that it has. But I think a lot of it's economics. But, you're not going to take the guns out of this place. The laws don't change. And I think federal weapons reform is what you need. But
Yeah,
everyone has to fit when that happens. Go ahead.
The problem with gun reform in that kind of way, I mean, I don't disagree, but the problem is it's like once you let the cat out of the bag, you can't kind of put it back.
I don't know. New York doesn't really have these problems. California, to a large degree, doesn't have these problems anymore.
True.
Because of gentrification.
No, but the gun violence is way the fuck down, and it was before gentrification.
You know what's crazy? Y'all can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Thanks
Yeah,
for
you-
fixing your mic. Thanks for getting a new microphone.
Yeah, I
Appreciate it.
put the PlayStation mic in, so it works good. Anyway, you know what's funny in New York, right? We have there's guns in New York, but at the same time, it's like we have stringent laws that if you're caught with it, it's automatic 7 years, like that. You know what I'm saying? The way I see it, you always hear stories of their crates of guns in Chicago. What if these stories are actually true and somebody's bringing in these guns? Because that's the only thing I keep hearing day in, day out, that somebody's bringing in crates of guns, but nobody is pointing fingers at who was doing it. You know what I'm saying? They never really solved this thing. I don't know why. It irks the shit out of me.
I think I had one idea, but the NRA would freak out. It's
Okay.
kind of let hear me out. All right, there's two stages to it. One, if a gun gets out from a manufacturer to crime, there should be a whole chain of command of people who should be held responsible, from the manufacturer to a gun dealer to if it's owned by somebody and they trace it back to them.
Yeah.
Then all this stuff would get wiped out overnight. Because ultimately, I do think the manufacturers and the distributors and this whole distribution chain, they have to bear some responsibility. I mean, how are these guns getting out of a factory into like a 15-year-old's hand?
True.
It's not.
Somebody knows something.
Somebody knows something. So
Do you feel this way across the board with products, or is it just guns? That's automatically where you're gonna go. So if I get drunk off of Jack, is Jack Daniels responsible for whatever happens after?
Well, Dad, the thing is, when people bring up that counter argument,
Or car makers, or knives, or if any other weapon?
yes, they are. And the thing is, when people bring up that,
no, you know why?
Well, guns is different.
Ah,
You know
yes.
what I'm saying?
You know why it's different, Dad?
Yes.
Dad, you know why it's different? Because first of all, with alcohol, I do think like a bartender can be held responsible if
Wow.
they serve somebody. Well, you probably know better than me, but I know that a bar will cut people off if they look
Absolutely.
visibly drunk. So obviously there's something there, some kind of either sense of responsibility or liability that they face. But the important thing is, with guns, you don't use a gun to get to work. You don't use a gun to cook your food. Its only purpose is to kill. So the rules around how it gets from a manufacturer to a person has to be different from even like a kitchen knife because of its intended purpose.
absolutely. And the thing is, Dad, like that kind of counter argument, we've had numerous cases in this country across a huge line of different products where the manufacturers have been held responsible and the distributors haven't been responsible.
It's so crazy how guns always get the blame. Like, it always comes back to the same. Guns are not the problem. There are lots of places with higher concentrations of firearms that don't see the crime. I think Sirius broke it down in the thread perfectly. It's poverty and proximity. Like, these people are poor, they don't have opportunities, and they live very close to each other. In rural areas where poverty is the same, it's more spread out, so you don't see the same kind of crime. And guns are more prevalent. So for you to say it's guns and we need to get rid of guns, it just doesn't hold up when you look at the evidence.
I'm not saying we need to get rid of guns. I think responsible, legal gun ownership, it's a right. It's in the Constitution. It's inalienable right. People should have the right to defend themselves. That's fine. But there's clearly a problem if a gun is getting out from a gun factory into like a 15-year-old's hand in Chicago. So, this idea, and I've heard it a million times, this idea that, oh, well, if we do anything to stop the flow of guns, it's going to impede on everybody's rights. No, it's only going to impede. It's only going to, if we do it in a smart and right way, it's going to keep the guns out of the hands of criminals.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that it's like you can't stop the flow of guns without getting the people who are distributing the guns involved and holding them somewhat responsible, because they are.
You got to nip it in the bud, Dad. You know, cigarettes, they've had huge lawsuits where, you know, cigarettes actually kill people. I know Mike Pence doesn't believe that. Seriously, he doesn't. But there have been numerous lawsuits where these companies have been held liable. Firestone tires, the Takata airbag thing, Volkswagen with their fucking emissions cheating scandal. You know,
and those don't even count. Well, it's different with the cigarettes because, like, those they intended to pass stuff off and kind of hide it. But with the cigarettes, it's like, you know, just the danger. They hit a lot of the danger, and even once it's known, they still can't advertise. And, you know, there's ways that they control it so that the damage is minimized. So yeah, I don't buy this idea that, oh, we can't do anything with guns. If you do anything with guns, it's a slippery slope. No, it doesn't work that way. There's smart ways to control the flow of guns, but
what about the initial suggestion where it's just harsher gun laws, which have been shown to work in New York and California? Like, the evidence suggests that those kind of things can work.
I think the issue is, with that, to me at least, is the way that laws are enforced and the way that sentencing has been carried out, because it's shown that a lot of the policies and the judicial statutes behind it, they just lead because the people enforcing them, without, you know, saying, you know, you look at racial discrimination just across the board. You run into issues there. Is it a deterrent to carry a firearm? Yeah, but I think there's more effective ways than the end user.
Let me put it like this, Dad. Let me put it like this. All right. Obviously, these kids don't care about the law. So harsher penalties
don't mean shit.
What are they going to do? But
that was the same
let me ask you. All right.
California, though, and over time, it has an effect. Crime goes down.
Yeah, but there's other forces at play. I still think gentrification is a factor. And
California was real bad prior to the 3 strikes. Like, gang banging was out of control here, and it's pretty tame. Not to say like that, but it's pretty tame now in comparison. Like, I think laws like that do have an effect over time.
Could also be a generational thing.
I still think that if you...
And how would you hold a manufacturer liable with aftermarket movement of the weapon? Like, how could you hold someone responsible for what happens to an item once it leaves their possession? Like, it could end up anywhere, and you're telling me they should be held liable regardless of where it ends up and how it gets there?
No. Here's the thing. Y'all remember the first Iron Man movie, right? And you remember? No, hear me out. I know it's gonna sound crazy, but I gotta go here. You remember when Obadiah Stane was dealing guns to the terrorists, right? Mm-hmm. Under the table. Mm-hmm. Now, if Tony Stark, if Stark Industries was found if they found a terrorist with Stark Industries weapons, right? Wouldn't he be held liable for the sale of weapons to terrorists? Because even though he didn't know, it was still his product. They could trace it directly to his company. He was responsible, regardless. If a gun comes straight from a factory of gun makers and they know him with the terrorists, and the terrorists get found out with the guns, then hey, guess what? You're on the hook for that, because that's your responsibility as a gun manufacturer and a gun maker.
Using this line of reasoning, you know, the U.S. is liable for so many conflicts right now.
That's the problem. That's the hypocrisy. That's the hypocrisy that pisses me off. It just pisses me off. It's like, hey, guess what? We're gonna give guns to rebels, and then the rebels turn around years later and attack us with our same weapons. It pisses me off because the U.S. do not learn the lessons. They do not learn from their mistakes. They keep on making the same mistakes. It pisses me off. Why do they keep making the same mistakes?
This this gun law thing, this Chicago thing, we've done this before. Reagan did the whole, let's get tough on crime, let's lock people up. These kids are the kids of those people. We're right back to square one.
Exactly.
So, someone asked me, oh, it was you, Dad, you asked me, so what should we do? I don't know what we should do. But as far as this, we can't do this again. We already know this doesn't work. So we have to do something else.
Isn't that a very shitty position to be in when you're at the table? One side of the table has a plan, the other side doesn't, and you're all you could do is cry about how bad you think their plan is. Like, there has to be an alternative if you're going to be taken seriously. Like, you can't. The Republicans were in this position with Obamacare a while ago, and it's like, you don't have an alternative, so shut the fuck up. So now here we are, don't have an alternative. They're going to tell us the same thing. Shut the fuck up. Well, not us. I'm not a Democrat, but I'm just saying, it's the same position. You have to have an alternative for these problems that have to be dealt with. Something has to be done about these kids being killed at this high rate. Like, something has to.
We know what the problem is. Sirius said it. I said it. A bunch of people said it. It's a socio-economic.
That's half the battle, but we need a solution.
So, we put resources in. We try to clean the neighborhoods up. Obviously, we have to address the gun crime, and we have to.
That's been
people
happening.
do have to get locked up.
That's been happening. This isn't Chicago. That's like a misconception. It's not a poor city, and Illinois isn't a poor state. Like, and I actually like that Trump put it squarely on the state and the city to do something about it, or he will handle it himself. He didn't just say he's coming in to declare martial law. He said, fix the problem or I'll fix it. But
you know that martial law is about to pop off, though. If it keeps going on, he's going to be like, well, I'm going to declare a state of emergency.
If it keeps going on, you already proved the point. He's telling them to handle it. They can try these steps you guys are suggesting, but it sounds like you guys already know that won't work, and martial law will have to come. Like,
but there's other things that he can do besides issue martial law. He can come in and help with the schools. He can help kind of draw investment in. He can help to kind of address the socio-economic issues that are prompting the poverty that are causing the crime.
Like you conceded in the thread, like, business isn't interested in moving into a war zone. They're not going to. No one's opening up shop in a place where gunshots are ringing nightly. Like, that's just, it's a very bad situation. You're not going to be able to create jobs in a place where people are getting shot daily. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Look. Here's an idea. Right? All of Chicago is not a fucking war zone.
Correct.
There's obviously safe spaces. Safe spaces. There's obviously
speak freely. There's no political correctness. Go ahead.
There's obviously I'm signaling virtue here. No, there's obviously places where businesses can operate. So what they can do, right? They can, create some kind of program where, maybe they have like companies set up call centers, and then they train the people and stuff like that, where the people get out of the war zone. They go, they do work, they go to school, whatever they have to do. And then, from there, the money comes back, and there's things they can do. I'm not an urban planner or whatever, but I feel like there's things they can do rather than just send the police in, send the National Guard.
Why haven't they done any of these things? And why did it take Donald Trump to get this ball rolling, or this conversation to be taken seriously and handled on the national stage?
The thing is, no one wants to invest in these places. The government doesn't even want to do it. And is there even money to fucking do it? The easy, white answer is, oh, we'll just put everyone in jail and then everything will be great.
There you go.
That's not it. you know, like what y'all was saying, you know, address urban blight.
Like someone,
If you have
somebody-
to, which won't happen. I mean, we have to look at the other party here.
it's what do we even want white people to do? Like if they move in, gentrification, then we get angry. If they leave, it's white flight. Like don't leave, don't move in, don't.
If minorities weren't so fucking
White people are
economically
screwed either way.
oppressed, they could create their own thing. But the thing is that's just, they won't let that happen. But if you got rid of, you know, if you did, basically, if you know, you redesign some of these cities, you know, some of this stuff is pretty straightforward.
All right, let me put on this agent hat real quick and say there is a generation in Chicago right now that suddenly creating jobs for is not going to help. They live how they live, and they glorify how they live.
You know what? I saw a study, I forget when it was. It was kind of recent, and I think it was in Chicago, where they took kids from these neighborhoods, they gave them like fast food jobs. Immediately, they stopped committing crime. They started to get their shit together, like overnight. So I'm not buying that these kids.
You guys, so let me just ask the question directly. Do you guys think there is a culture in Chicago that glorifies and promotes violence?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. Yes,
Because
but
a lot of time when the culture is singled out, people fly in to say, no, that's not it. No, it doesn't exist. No, that's just an agent speaking. Like there really is a culture there that's at play that really harms the entire community.
well, the thing with the whole culture thing is it's used as code to kind of
everyone,
not just everyone, but it's like, well, it's just the culture. What they're really saying is it's their nature. You know, this is the way they are. They can't be changed. So we just have to send the National Guard in and kill everybody. But culture changes.
It is code speak. It is code speak. I ain't gonna lie. Every time an ethnic group gets out of control, it's their nature, or they're thugs, or what's a famous code word? They're to blame for all the poverty. They're lazy. It's always a code word, and it's like it's so blatant now that you can see what it is. Chicago has gun deaths. It is a little bit crazy out there. I get it. But there are many places where only white people live at, and there are so many people dying in these places, but they never get reported at all. And that pisses me off too. You know what I'm saying?
You look at the heroin epidemic.
Yes.
The difference in it's a tragedy. These people are victims. It's so sad. Remember how these same people were talking about the crack epidemic? So it's like, I don't buy the rhetoric.
Yeah, that's a ratings thing. People tune in to hear more about, you know, blacks being victims than they do whites. That's just how it is.
Yeah, but that's a problem. If you're gonna slant the drug epidemic when crack and cocaine hits the street, and it's basically minorities going crazy and they all crackheads. But when white people do it, oh my God, it's so sad. Little Jenny sucked off the heroin dealer because she couldn't get her fix. You know, but nobody, the media doesn't put that out on the street. Media doesn't put that out in the street. Yeah.
The media in this country is shit. I think that's been well documented.
I know it's fucking annoying.
Another aspect of the drug thing, from previous epidemics with cocaine and heroin in, you know, the 80s, 70s, and 90s to 2016, 2010 forwards, I guess we'll say, for pills and heroin, is that you've got a real generational switch there now, where the adults and older people who were dealing with what was going on in the 80s and 90s, you know, they were born. It's a generational shift, I think, in the idea of understanding drugs and culture that has now changed a lot, because the people who are adults now, you know, they already lived through what we're talking about, so they can see it differently. Obviously, there's, I think that's one of the biggest things. But there is obviously an inherent racial bias.
Let me say this about Trump, and it's a, I guess it's a question just as much as it is a statement. But even if you oppose Trump and everything he stands for, isn't it weird and sort of impressive to see a president do exactly what he said he was going to do at breakneck speed? Like, just really just think about that for a second. A president who got into office and began immediately doing everything he said he was going to do during his campaign.
Well, I mean, he's coming into he's got Congress, so
he's not using Congress. These are executive orders. He's not using Congress yet at all.
He'll still need Congress to fund these things.
So I'm just saying he's moving in the direction that he promised he would right out the gate.
Yeah, but he has no impediments.
I mean, that's great, but what direction is he moving in? It's not,
Well, I said even if you disagree with it, it's refreshing to see a politician do what they say.
It's not really refreshing. It's not really refreshing. I mean,
it absolutely is.
I mean, Erdogan and Assad and a whole bunch of other savory characters, they move at breakneck speed too. It's not impressive there. It's not refreshing.
I don't think it'll be. I really believe it won't come down to martial law. I believe something will be done. I mean, and are you guys putting any of this blame on the state and the city because they haven't done shit?
Oh yeah, no, they bear some responsibility in it. The fact that you're right, the fact that he has had to kind of make this ultimatum, it does speak to the failures of state and the city and Obama.
I mean, I guess one thing you have to remember here is that you have a city, a county, and a state that are basically verging on bankruptcy. It seems like Chicago is still dealing with these fiscal crises that New York had in like the 80s and the 70s. I don't really get it.
Correct.
You guys realize that as well, right?
It's got to be corrupt.
Well, I mean, and it's also these pockets where there's no tax revenue or negative tax revenue. So they're kind of in a catch-22. They got to get the money flowing within so they can do what they have to do. But they need, it's like, it's kind of the two things are dependent on each other.
So let's say Trump goes in, martial law. Like, is there any coming back from that? Do we just pretty much lose parts of Chicago or communities for good? Like,
I don't think I don't think he can declare martial law.
The governor can.
Yeah, but that's not even the same thing. And I mean,
but then he could lean on the governor. You know what I'm saying? He's the president. He could lean on the governor. Say some shit like, "I'll take away funds," or "You won't have any money." It's like strong arming. I'm going to strong arm the governor to do what I want.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past Trump, but I mean, in the eyes of the general public, that's going to be seen as.
Trump doesn't care about that.
He doesn't care.
Trump doesn't care about that.
He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care. Talk about, I'm going to ban all Muslims. Guess what?
Because like
most of the Muslims are going to be banning. The law is already trying.
Politically, as bad as it is, if he does go into Chicago and the violence stops or is drastically reduced, it's going to look like a win politically.
Yeah, but if it gets worse,
the damage it does to the black community is going to be glossed over, and he'll actually win.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 risk, because the way I see it, crime can go down, but at the same time, the gangbangers could all gang up and turn on the guns on the feds. So the minute they step in, it's gonna be fucking havoc. It can descend into chaos, and then you're gonna have to call the army. And when you call the army to fight the populace, it becomes a serious problem.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys just generally. I love my numbers and my economics. All right, we have 4.9% unemployment. Dow hit 20,000 today.
Yeah, that made no sense.
Oil is super cheap. Yada yada yada. Where do you guys see the economy going? Do you think Trump is going to be able to land his win, or are we overdue for a recession?
The crash is coming.
I think we're in line for a recession.
Yep.
And like a couple different things have shown me that. I think you have the housing market. You have a lot of debt still that's been built up. And that's just in one facet of society, and housing debt, mortgage debt that still exists from the crisis, which is going to have a hard time getting refinanced. Markets moving south in real estate big time. And,
how do you guys feel about the Keystone Pipeline? Were you guys for that?
People make such a big deal about the Keystone. I mean, I think they should do it. I don't think it's going to revitalize. It's not a huge artery in the oil market. I don't think it's as big of a deal as people are making it.
I mean, I don't think it's going to change anything to do with oil, honestly. It's seriously detrimental for the communities that are going to be living there. Some other aspects is just, I think the stock prices are way, way out of bounds, it seems like. And if Trump, I think, if he builds this wall and if he, spends the next 4 years chasing illegal immigrants and defunding sanctuary cities, which are, some of the highest grossing revenue generating places for our country, we're going to get really fucked up. And whether they do this infrastructure plan that everyone keeps talking about or not, it's too late. That just stimulates growth. It might stimulate jobs short term, but nothing is long term there.
Short term, do you think the immigration freeze and the construction of the wall will benefit those Americans at the bottom that are competing for those shitty jobs with immigrants?
No, because I don't
illegal and legal.
I don't believe that Americans are competing with illegal immigrants for the majority of jobs.
It's not the majority, it's just at the bottom. I believe 100% that they do. And to be honest, I do think something has to be done. I mean, you're talking about, I've heard numbers as high as 11 million illegal immigrants here.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you have to be crazy to think that doesn't have an effect on employment. I mean, that's like 3% of the population. That's huge.
Look at our unemployment rate, though. And you guys can go on about job participation and stuff like that, but I just think that's a red herring.
I mean, the numbers are what they are. Unemployment too, you have to take that with a grain of salt because eventually they drop people off. If you don't have a job for a year, all of a sudden you don't count.
No, I understand that, and that's what I just said. I mean, I think the participation rates, I don't think that's a good indicator to, I think we should be consistent. And I think we saw a huge amount of economic growth in the 8 years, not because of Obama, but that's who was in office.
I think Trump might see some short-term gains from the immigration halt. Like I really do.
I don't really see it unless he really starts sending people back by the millions. And you got to understand too, Mexico, well, the whole world really is getting hammered by the strong dollar, and Mexico specifically is getting hammered by all this talk. So if you take their situation and then you have millions of unemployed people coming back to their country, it's going to be chaos. You're going to have a situation where people are coming back.
It's almost like they want to build that wall so they'll come back. Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost like they're going to have to come to the table and deal with Trump. They might actually end up reimbursing us for the wall.
Yeah.
But Mexico is one of our biggest trade partners. It's like
Mexico is a lot of things, though. We get a lot of good and bad from Mexico.
Yeah, and if we start fucking bullying them, you know, it's stupid. It makes no sense. It's totally counterintuitive what we're trying to achieve there. You know, you guys, you care about all the heroin in our country, but you guys want to, you know, hammer the Mexican dollar and fucking deport tons of people. It's, you know, we can't have it every which way.
It's not gonna stop drugs. Let's just make sure everyone understands that building a wall isn't gonna stop drugs.
You know it would, though. We all know it would. I don't even have to say it.
Legalization.
Yeah.
We all know it would.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go to bed and go to work and pay my bills. So it was good talking, guys. I'll listen to this later.
Take it easy.
Take care, guys.
It's scary how fast Trump is spitting out this fuckery. It's hard to even keep up with.
Yeah, it's day to day.
Day to day. And I haven't even heard anything from Pence or Sessions yet. It's just a waiting game for the fuckery at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot to go around. I mean, this is week one. This is week one, man.
This guy loves the executive orders. It's so scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, Jesus. I think he's issued at least 10 executive orders, maybe more, like maybe a couple less than 10. And like,
He's gonna pack Obama in like by summer.
Real quick, can we talk about how the left is responding to all of this? Like, yeah, Democrats are the left. I won't say Democrats. You may not be a Democrat and be on the left, but
I'm not even a Democrat anymore after all that shit that happened. I'm like, fuck these motherfuckers.
Why are the Democrats responding so violently?
They have no choice.
It's so
they're
like,
done.
For as basic or primal as they like to paint the right, the left is just embarrassing itself right now with
Here's the thing:
the violence and the like. People,
the violence,
even on our board, people are hoping President Trump gets shot. I hope he gets shot in the head. Like, these are real things.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
And it's like when these kind of things were being said about Obama by the racists, it was just appalling. But now on the left, it's like, well, you got to understand. I think, you got to look at what he's doing. Like, the conversation is totally different. It's like, well, some people deserve to get dragged in the street. Like, it's amazing.
You know what's funny? This needed to happen. The left, like, they needed a complete after the whole email scandal and how they ignore certain like minority communities because just give them just tell them we'll help you, but don't do anything for them. The left needs a top to bottom restructuring. Like, it can't be the Democrats anymore. The people that's in charge can't be in charge anymore because they're not doing anything for anybody except themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Where's the tolerance and the diversity? Like, it's just insane. They're actually like burning things and rioting and
it's not all Democrats.
No, I'm just saying.
It's like radicals.
In response to Trump, the left is just acting like savages. Like it's
they lost.
I know. It's just
they would be mad. I would be mad too.
High ground that they took when Obama won, and the right just shit a brick and not my president. I'm leaving the country. America's going to shit. Like, the high ground they took was so high, and now to see them rioting in the streets,
that's fucking bullshit, Dad. So what?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Think about what they're fucking responding to.
It's not okay.
What
it's not okay. Violent protest is not okay. Whatever you're about to say, you're wrong.
They're not all violent though. It's not like
they're not.
The Democrats are in charge. No, hear me out. The Democrats are not in charge of these anarchists going around and breaking shit. They're not in charge of them.
But Republicans were in charge of all the racists, though.
No, but that's the whole point. That's the whole point. It's fringe elements. It's always been fringe elements within each political party that has been radicalized. Like you'll have the Republicans who are like soft racists, and then you'll have like the extreme right wingers who are like, well, it's okay if a cop shoots an unarmed black guy because that black guy must have done something wrong.
My point is both sides are complete shit. No one should.
How violent was the Women's March, man?
The Women's March. The Women's March, I have a comment about that. Can someone please tell me what right or rights are women missing? Like, what right is it that women don't have in this country?
I don't know, Dad. I think they're pretty tired of getting discriminated against.
No, equal rights. What rights do they not have? What right do men have that women don't have? Like the way they frame their arguments is so shitty and so misleading.
You just had the Congress try to fucking limit the rights to their body. You have
the abortion thing, yeah.
You have them, making contraception unaffordable, making birth control unaffordable.
These are still not rights that they're lacking. Like they don't actually. So right now, you can't tell me a right that men have that women don't have.
It's discrimination.
So when they say equal rights, what they're really trying to say is we don't want to be discriminated against.
I think that's a big part of it, Dad.
It just seems so stupid. Well, the women's thing, I mean, more power to them. I mean,
well, I just if medical services weren't covered and they cost you more money because you were a man, I think you'd feel some way about it.
So I think there's seems to be some sort of problem with accepting that men and women are not the same. And that things aren't going to always be applied evenly. They just can't be. It seems to be, what is wrong with saying men and women are different and cannot be treated the same?
Because if they're economically oppressed and then they're oppressed due to the fucking gender,
No, you know what pisses me off about that whole Women's March thing is that a lot of white women are there, but nobody called them out about voting for Trump and his cronies. Nobody called them out. Somebody should have took the microphone and said, listen, we're here because y'all fucked up. All the white women are here that voted for Trump, y'all fucked up, and y'all put us in this position.
Well,
nobody calls them out.
What you'll find is, though, that the women who protest this stuff, they're not conservatives.
Yeah.
So
But you know what? They still probably voted for Trump, though.
And none of the economic oppression that you bring up was what was mentioned. It's just, it seems like the marches and the protests are actually bullshit and don't really touch on the actual issues that women are facing. It seems like
one of the actual issues was the rights to their body. The next day, Congress passes a bill defunding abortion. The next day, Congress or fucking Trump, said, "Oh, we're not going to provide."
You're making a leap there, though. You're going from right to one's body to the right to taxpayer money to affect one's body. Like it's
no, Dad.
If they make it illegal, okay. But if they're saying the government shouldn't pay for it, that's not the same thing.
What are you talking about?
Abortion.
Are you talking about the overseas thing?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not even framed correctly in the first place. What the bill does overseas, taxpayer dollars aren't going to fucking actual paying for abortions. It's about contraception and making them aware of different options that they have. It's not actually paying for abortion. You guys need to read about what the law entails.
Taxpayers putting the bill for it.
No, Dad, no. That's not what the law has anything to do with. Oh shit! Did I just disconnect?
No, you're still here.
No. What the law does is it provides money to NGOs, and then the NGOs are allowed to tell women, different options. That's all it did, and give them access to these NGOs in the first place. Where They might not even have a hospital. We're not actively paying for physical abortions.
Okay, the article I read framed it wrong though. I'm looking at it now. It literally says ban on U.S. funding for abortion overseas.
Yeah,
You're
it's
saying
not.
that's
It's not
what
like,
it is at all.
no. It's not. What it does is it provides money to NGOs to have clinics. The clinics inform them about contraceptions or give them access to birth control, or lets them be aware that it is possible to get an abortion.
All right, I'm reading it now. It says it blocks federal funding for international family planning charities that provide abortions or actively promote the procedure.
Yeah, and what it's going to be used against is actively promoting them, which it essentially entails women, oh, you can have an abortion. We're not physically paying for abortions overseas. I mean, that does
potentially.
But the NGOs themselves don't do that. Like Planned Parenthood, none of those companies that operate NGOs like that overseas actually do that themselves.
Do you think that taxpayers should pay for abortions?
I don't have a problem with it. I think it's a much stranger situation with the overseas thing. But if all they're letting them actually know is that, oh, you can have an abortion, or you can use an IUD or IUD or whatever the fuck they're called now, or you can take birth control. I definitely don't see the problem in that. But funding actual abortions overseas, that would be a bit more just awkward, I guess, especially considering our own country is hang-ups about it. But across the board, I think it's a woman's choice and her choice alone.
I don't know. We elected a pro-life president. I think we're just gonna have. There's a lot of.
I didn't vote for him. Why you keep saying we did? I don't understand where it's coming from.
The country elected a pro-life president. So you're gonna have. I think this kind of thing is just something you should have expected, and you kind of gonna have to swallow.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? Is it me or always? I don't know what it is, but it's like white people just always vote for like the baddest person in history. It's like I don't know what it is, but they always vote against their own self-interest. I don't understand this. Like you have Bernie Sanders. Now, if I like Bernie Sanders. I don't know what it was, but it's like this guy Bernie Sanders came in with I'm gonna try to cut the budget, but I'm gonna try to make it to where I'm gonna tax people who make so much money. I'm gonna tax the 1%. I'm gonna try to give you free education, healthcare, a way to get jobs, but I'm gonna have to cut some things. But not all the bad things. You know what I'm saying?
I actually have an answer for that. The white nationalism.
And they just sabotaged them. They just sabotaged them.
It comes up at the bar a lot. You know what? White people in America really get, whether they deserve it or not, really get tired of being the bad guy, the devil.
They are the bad guy.
Look at
okay. But listen. If you're gonna bash them and constantly throw it in their face that they're the bad guy, and you have to expect them to band together. You have to. This is human nature. You have to expect what you're seeing. You have to expect white flight. Well, if we're so bad, we're going to go over here by ourselves and do our own thing. And then you get mad. Why are they all leaving, forming white communities? Because they're so terrible. Why do you want to live with them? Like,
no, that's it's not about them living with people, but it's the fact that
if white people all leave to only live with other white people, it would be a big problem.
Let me try to extrapolate what I'm saying. Now, here's the thing. A lot of white people are in charge of the military, economics, money, power. But here's the thing. When they always need a scapegoat to blame, you know what I'm saying? Like they could basically change the world and do great things and help everybody else. But it's like, guess what? We're going to make more wars, put more money in our pockets, and fuck whoever is in our way. And it's like, instead of trying to help the planet or help people, they don't help people. They only help themselves. And the people who are in charge are mostly white. They are making these decisions.
You're actually missing what I'm saying.
Okay, so
let's say you're 100% correct. I am. Okay, if they're the bad guys, if this group of people are the bad guys and they're getting hit from all sides with their crimes or whatever have you, their transgressions, you have to expect them to band together. You have to expect them to stick together and become even closer knit. Like, that's just a natural human reaction. Like, I don't think anything white people do is surprising in their position.
Yeah.
It's like you have to really look at it for like, well, if they're all of these things and they're guilty of all of these things, it makes sense for them to fall back to themselves and only want to deal with each other and kind of just push away from everyone. But they don't
seem to learn from them from the mistakes of their ancestors. It's like they constantly keep piling on bad things after bad things after bad things. It's like, when do they all band together and just say, listen, we're going to change the dichotomy of everything. We're going to stop having these wars.
Listen to what you just said. What you're asking me is, why haven't the people who control everything decided we're going to change our ways and not try to control everything? Yeah. Why are the people in power not changing to want to share their power and give up their power? That's not how human nature works. Like, what you're looking at is, part of the human condition. Like, they're not going to willingly give up their privilege. Who would do that? Like, there's no reason to do that. And if they're going to be vilified,
if you're about uplifting,
no, that's not humans don't work that way. And there are uplifting white people. They're not giving away their privilege, though. That's just not how it's going to happen. Like,
uplifted and helped out. They don't really care.
That's lofty thinking. That's lofty talk, but it's not going to happen.
I know.
They aren't going to check their privilege. That they aren't going to uplift anyone else to make them equal to them. That's just not that's just not going to happen.
But if you're constantly getting bombarded from all sides because you're the evil person, then stop being evil.
No. What they do is white flight. Being evil. What they do is white flight.
And then they come back in our neighborhoods 20 years later and push us out and say, we want your land too.
No.
How does that sound?
They all leave and then they get bashed for that. White flight was a big deal, and it was I forget what the exact policy was, but diversity became really pushed really hard. So then when they come in, they start getting bashed for that. Like, it's just such a fucked up position to be in, but they wouldn't change it for the world because they run every fucking thing. Like,
yeah, but that's the problem. They run everything. The way it's structured is fucked up, because guess what? We have to suffer so they can live nicely. I don't like that idea that we have to suffer so they can live nicely. When we get in positions of power, we don't intentionally go out to hurt people.
Well, maybe there's not enough black nationalism.
But we're only 13% of the population, right? Of the entire United States.
Maybe one of our pitfalls is our belief in diversity.
True.
Maybe we should take notes from Asians and Jews and just practice,
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that we need a black economy, but we also need a communal fund, a communal like pot that only we touch. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, basically the Jews, the Jews have go to Brooklyn, where the 3 line stops at, and you get off by you get off there, and you see like they have like the whole row of buildings up on the hill. It's just nothing but Jewish schools, businesses, buildings, and basically, if you're not Jewish, you're not supposed to be there. They have their own communal fund. You know what I'm saying? They have their own communal fund. And when we tried to have our own communal fund and our own buildings, our own shit, there's always interlopers that fucks it up. Always. There's always people that fuck it up. Back
to white nationalism, though. When you bash white people and vilify them, a Trump is coming. Someone who speaks to them and paints them as victims is going to come, and they're going to gravitate towards it every single time. Like, it's just.
But they're not victims.
See, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. You're missing the point. They feel like they're victims, and he speaks to that, so they gravitate towards him. Like you're asking, how could they possibly vote for someone so evil? See, you're missing it. You're completely.
But see, but here's the thing. They're the ones in control. And you know what's funny?
White people aren't. You know what? The white people aren't the ones in control. Like the percent of white people that actually run the country, I'm sure is very low. White people are pretty poor too in this country.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're not poor.
They're actually voting against their best interests majority of the time.
Yeah, they always vote against their best interests because guess what? The guy in charge is white, so he could probably lift us up first and foremost because we're white too.
Yeah, because
you know what I'm saying?
The top 1 or 2% are white, so we just frame it as all white people. But really, there's white people in that bottom 10% too. It's just funny. I mean, Trump and Hitlers are always going to come whenever white people feel like they're being victimized. Like it's inevitable.
They're not victims.
And I really don't like the Hitler comparison. I think you do Hitler a disservice.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It drives me crazy because it's like all these wars and bombs and people getting killed, and it's funny because the people who are in charge, they get rich off of this, but yet we're the ones getting the brunt of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, guess what? Black people, they commit all the crimes in the entire United States. But it's like, how is that possible? The black people, they always sell the drugs, but yet y'all the ones who take most of the drugs. Black people are the ones who are killing each other 90%. But how is that true? Like it's like damn.
It's just a very surface, very shallow look at things. Like crime is always higher and drug use is always higher where there's more poverty, like where people are poor. Black people just happen to be poor in America. That's all it comes down to. Social economic.
Yeah.
But
you know what?
We're gonna go ahead.
We're done. We're finished. Oh man. I always come
Keep going, man. You know what? Go ahead, man.
I always come in late.
One of them sad. Oh man, go ahead. Get your.
I always come in late, man.
I go soapbox, man. It's cool, man. You know what? I give you extra 2 minutes. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Well, I'm just saying that if we was in charge as black people, we wouldn't be going out there and committing all these wars and war crimes and bombing people.
That.
You know what I'm saying? No. If I was in charge,
I ruled the world, I would find. I hear you.
Yes, if I ruled the world, I would put like-minded black people in charge and tell all the white people, all y'all bullshit and being in charge and fucking everything up, it's over. I'm gonna make everything.
Bro. Look at Africa.
Yeah, that's how it starts, man. Every country, every nationality has the same bullshit going on.
Yeah, but we don't. But as far as black people, we can't go to other countries and bomb their shit and act like everything's all good. You know what I'm saying? We don't have control of drones and the military and just say, hey, guess what? We're gonna bomb your shit. You can't do anything about it.
Don't make that argument because the black president dropped more drone bombs than anyone else. So
but I mean, as far as a country full of black people who could go to like Afghanistan or okay. Let me make a comparison. Now imagine if Africa had all the power in the world and they had their own military and they dropped drones. They had drones.
Africa's pretty fucked up, man, to be honest.
Yeah, but no, I'm just saying that. I'm just saying in theory, what if Africa was united and they had a military substantial to America's and they had ability to drone bomb like anybody they wanted in the world, and they said, guess what? There's an American terrorist. We're gonna drone bomb this motherfucker in New York. And the US will be like, well, yeah, we can't do anything about that.
You're saying if the tables were turned, we think it was all fucked up.
If the tables were turned. Exactly.
All right, guys. That's time right there.
Well, I gotta say something. Happy Australia Day to Darth.
Oh yeah.
What?
Australia Day,
mate. I'll see you closer. All right, guys. See you next week.
Take it easy.